welcome to Attaché, the show that gets you in, out, and around some of the world's greatest cities. My name is Alex Hunter, and I'll be your Sherpa on this life well traveled. And today, we're in Shanghai. No matter how many times you've been to Shanghai, no matter how well you speak Mandarin, no matter how well you think you know this place, you will always be an outsider. Since you've been gone, Shanghai has advanced 10 years for every year that you and I have experienced. The place that you left the last time you were here is nothing like the place you'll return to. And that's okay. In fact, that's what makes Shanghai one of the most fascinating places on Earth. We want to thank our friends at Cathay Pacific, who flew us to Shanghai via their home base of Hong Kong. Throughout this season, we're partnering with Cathay Pacific to help you discover a life well traveled. We're about to land in Shanghai, so it's probably a good time to talk about the airports. There's actually two major airports in Shanghai. Shanghai Pudong, the main international gateway, and Hongqiao, which predominantly serves domestic flights. I figure if you're watching this, you're going to be coming into Shanghai Pudong, the bigger of the two airports with more international destinations. So that's the one we're going to focus on. I've been to this airport a lot, and I actually kind of dig it. Sure, it can be a little bit chaotic during the busy hours, but what major international airport isn't? It's relatively easy to navigate, nice, big, spacious, and open. It's 25 miles east of the city, and there are a lot of options to get into town. A taxi is probably the easiest way to get in from the airport, but it's easily the most expensive as well. A taxi from the airport to right here in People's Square in the middle of Shanghai will take about an hour and cost you 160 yuan. There are taxi ranks outside Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, and avoid the touts that will approach you as you walk from the terminal to the taxi ranks. Just get in line, take a real taxi, you'll be fine. One other thing to note, it's rare for taxi drivers to speak English, so if you can, get your destination written down in Chinese on a piece of paper or a business card. Most hotels will be happy to provide this for you. Line 2 of the Shanghai Metro was extended all the way out to the airport a few years ago, and it cost just 8 yuan to get from the airport to People's Square right here in the middle of Shanghai. One thing to know, it will take an hour at least to do that journey, so bear that in mind. But two things to note if you're going to take the Metro from the airport. It only runs from 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., and you need to change at Guanglan Road if you want to go further into Shanghai. But by far my favorite option, easily the coolest of all airport transfer options in the entire world, is Shanghai's maglev train. The train uses magnetic levitation technology, yes, magnetic levitation, to rocket along the rails at 267 miles an hour. So that will get you from the airport to Longyang Road at the end of the line, 17 miles away, in 7 minutes. In the run-up to the 2010 World Expo, the Shanghai public transport infrastructure was aggressively expanded and vastly improved. So you now have a city that's cheap, quick, and relatively easy to get around. At the heart of this public transportation system is the Shanghai Metro, a 21st century subway system that covers most of the greater Shanghai area, which makes it the largest network in the entire world by track length. 10 million people use its 14 color-coded lines every single day. It's fast, cheap, air-conditioned, which is amazing in these hot, sticky summer months, and easy to use. All the signs and station announcements are in English as well as Mandarin. There are different types of Metro ticket you can get from the automated kiosk or from the ticket booth. There's single journey tickets like this one, which will get you from point A to point B, and 1- and 3-day travel passes, which will give you unlimited travel on the Metro for 1 and 3 days. But if you're going to be here for more than 3 days or plan on using other forms of transport, it's definitely worth getting one of these, a Shanghai Public Transportation Card, or Jiaotong card. It's a stored value card that works on the maglev train, the Metro, ferries, buses, and even taxis. Like most major cities, the subways and trains in Shanghai usually, but not entirely, stop between midnight and 5 a.m. So be sure to plan accordingly and find out the hours of the stations and lines that you're going to need for your journey. If you need to get around between midnight and 5 a.m., then taxi is really your only bet. The good news is taxis are abundant in Shanghai. There are over 50,000 of them swarming the city. So one of the things that you'll notice that we've learned too is that even with a green man, that doesn't mean that you've got safe passage across these busy streets. Buses and scooters, the deadly electric silent scooter, still come hurtling around the corner, so watch your back. Google Maps, our favorite travel tool, has comprehensive coverage of Shanghai, but live route planning is a little flaky because of how the internet works here in China. If you have a VPN, you'll be fine. If you're an iPhone user, Apple Maps works surprisingly well and does not require a VPN for route planning. It's not nearly as good as Google Maps, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And frankly, when you're wandering around the city and you're looking for how to get from A to B, it's better than nothing. One final thing on transport. You have to have a passport with a valid Chinese visa to check into a hotel. No passport, no hotel room. So I am so excited that we have the opportunity to hang out with Kyle from Untour Food Tours at untourfoodtours.com, right?
Correct.
You have been here for a while, right, in Shanghai?
Yeah, so we've been here for about 7 years, and for about the last 6 years, we've been helping tourists and expats alike really discover authentic local Shanghai food.
So what does that mean? What is authentic local Shanghai food?
So I think authentic means different things to everybody, but for us it means really supporting the mom and pop shops that still make everything by hand. They're not in a mall, they're not a chain store, they're not places where necessarily you might stumble upon, because so much of Shanghai now is so new that everywhere you go they're building a mall and a new high-rise. And so it's harder and harder to find the little places where the old neighborhoods where these mom-pop shops can really survive. Unfortunately, the city government really thinks that in order to modernize and present their version of a civilized Shanghai to the world, that means cracking down on street vendors and people with push carts that are making a living selling their delicious hometown treats to people in Shanghai. And so for us, that's really sad, because sometimes those are really the best places where if you push those guys out, you're losing those culinary traditions. And so it's sad. I mean, you can still find pockets of it. Sometimes, they'll congregate somewhere and the police won't bother them for a little while, but it's hard to find them consistently now in a single spot. When we go on these food walks, we try to tell people, give them a little bit of information about how to do it on their own as well. So you can do little things like, even at the hole-in-the-wall places on the street where they're there all the time, I think it's important still, you can check their oil, you can see their jugs of oil and make sure it's still clear and isn't being reused. It's really not so much of a problem in central Shanghai, but it's something to check. You can look at their ingredients. If you look at other locals that are buying food at these street food places, you'll see that they're checking the ingredients and looking and poking around and making sure that everything looks good, and you're more than welcome to do that. People understand.
When I think of Shanghai food culture, it means delicious xiaolongbao or shengjianbao. But Kyle had another trick up his sleeve, jiangbing.
Jianbing is a really classic breakfast treat. You can find it all over China, but it's more of a Shandong province specialty. Shandong province is a little bit north of Shanghai. It's a millet grain mixture as a base that acts like the base of almost like a crepe. And then she cracks an egg on it, so fries an egg. Throws a little bit of green onions, cilantro, pickled mustard tubers for a little bit of a crunchy, pickly bit, and then a sweet soybean paste and a little bit of chili paste as well. So it's got everything. It's got salty, sweet, spicy, crunchy, all wrapped up in like a little on-the-go breakfast treat.
Beautiful.
You're looking at 4.5 RMB, so about 75 cents, so it's a steal. You can afford one or two a day even in the morning, so it's great. A lot of people will get these on the go. You just grab one and finish your way up, go to work.
So we've eaten our way across Shanghai. Thank you very much, Kyle. If people want to go on one of your tours and eat even more than we just did, how do they do it? What's the process?
Yeah, well, you can find us obviously on TripAdvisor as well, but we'll go to untourfoodtours.com. We have tours all year round, 3-hour sampling food tours where you get to really sample as much stuff as you can. We'll leave you full, we promise, and give you a lot of information about where to find stuff on your own as well for the rest of your time.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
The official currency of China is the renminbi, often abbreviated as RMB. But the base unit is the yuan, and all the prices you see in China are given in yuan, using this symbol or this symbol. A lot of Chinese currency is in bill form, even small change, but you will still get 1 yuan coins like this one. The yuan is technically a restricted currency, but it's still very easy to exchange most major currencies here. But it can be quite a laborious process. I've heard that it can take up to an hour to exchange currency in a bank, but it really shouldn't when you do it. But you'll need to bring your passport, which they'll photocopy, and there's paperwork to fill out. It's kind of a pain. My tip, just use an ATM machine to get cash out. They are everywhere. They'll have no problem accepting your overseas card, and you'll usually get a better exchange rate. One weird thing about the ATMs here is that while they'll often have the Plus, Maestro, or Cirrus logos on them, they aren't always connected to those networks. The only way you'll find out is if you try. A bit of a life lesson there for us all, Greg. And when you're at an ATM getting cash, get a little bit more, because those chip and PIN devices that you'll see in restaurants and shops almost always won't take MasterCard and Visa, and forget about trying to use an American Express here in China. It just won't happen. One last thing on ATMs. If you're using an ATM with a chip and PIN device in a shop and it asks you for 6 digits for your PIN, but your PIN's only 4, here's a trick. Put 00 and then your PIN in. So in Greg's case, it would be 00.
No. 5, 5, 5.
We finish.
5.
I repeat.
5, 5, 5, 5.
While not the bargain destination it once was, Shanghai is still very affordable on almost all fronts. How affordable? Let's do the rundown. A cup of coffee will cost you around 22 yuan. A pint of beer will cost you. Actually, funny story, we've had beers ranging from less than £1 all the way up to £8 here in Shanghai. Hotel bars, expat bars, anywhere near the tourist areas, you're gonna pay 6, 7, £8 for a beer. But the street vendors, we've had 500 milliliter beers for less than £1. So, choose wisely. And for the most reliable indicator of a nation's cost, the good old Big Mac, you're gonna pay about 18 yuan, or about $2.60 US. Tipping haters, rejoice. Tipping is just not a thing here in China. A lot like Japan, tipping can actually cause embarrassment if done in the wrong way. I've heard reports from friends who have left a couple of yuan on the table as a tip, being chased down by the waitstaff to give them back the money they left behind. So forget about tipping while you're here in Shanghai. It's just not a thing. One quick note on shopping. Because of China's booming middle class, the various free trade zones in Shanghai, and a bunch of other economic incentives, Shanghai is a shopper's paradise. Luxury goods, electronics, sporting goods, antiquities, there is something for everyone here. And not only is bargaining acceptable, it's encouraged. Hell, it's considered sport here. But as a good traveler, of course, only bargain with the intention of actually buying something. One final thing, antiquities cannot be taken out of China. Anything made before 1911 cannot be taken out of the country. Do so and you could get in a lot of trouble. So don't. It's easy to step off the plane in Shanghai and instantly be overwhelmed. This is an intense city, there's no doubt about it. But if you take a breath, take a moment, Shanghai is a city that around every corner will reward you with a new sight, a new sound, a new story. Like many great cities in the world, Shanghai is a near perfect balance of past and present. But unlike anywhere else in the world, in Shanghai, you also get a glimpse of the future. And that, my friends, is the Attaché Guide to Shanghai. If you've been here before and feel like we've forgotten something, or you live in this great city and the cicadas are coming to get you. And that, my friends, is the Attaché Guide to Shanghai. If you've been here before and feel like we've forgotten something, or you live in this incredible city and think there's something that every visitor here needs to know, then leave it in the comments section below. And while you're there, take a moment to subscribe, because we have some more incredible cities coming up in the rest of Season 3. Thanks again to our friends at Cathay Pacific. We couldn't have done this episode without them. Do you have a tip to lead a life well traveled? Leave it in the comments section below.